How's everyone doing? So it's Sunday, and that means it's time to talk about video editing. That's the new rule. If it's Sunday, we're going to talk about video editing. So we've been doing this every week, trying to really give you guys an opportunity to come in here and ask me some of those questions that sometimes I can't get to well in the comments section. Good morning, Dale. Good to see you. Good to see you too, King. And good to see you, PC Gaming. It's nice to see you guys. Tech Gaming. We had a lot of gaming channels here today. That's awesome. Yeah, so what I try to do here is if you guys have questions specific to video editing, I try to see if I can answer some of them for you or give you examples of how to do certain things that you might be trying to do. Like Tech Gaming says, sir, I have a question. I say, Tech Gaming, what's your question? feel free not to spam the chat, but feel free to ask questions in here. I'm paying attention to the chat and scrolling through, so don't feel like if you ask a question that you have to keep asking it. I'll just keep scrolling around. Yeah, you like that shirt? That's the new logo design. Courtesy of our good friends at Spreadshop. If you haven't checked out Spreadshop, they've co-sponsors these streams and allow me to do these things. I've got links down below where you can go and set up your own Spreadshop for free. It's a great service. It also integrates with YouTube's merch shelf. Gonna need more coffee this morning. So that you can start putting your product right onto YouTube. And even if you're not monetized, you can put links to your shop in your descriptions and in your pinned comments and start driving revenue. I love them. And I love the quality of the stuff they make. Let's say, I'm just looking through some of these. I do color grading in Filmora and the video gets slow. Why is that? The reason is the video gets slow. Do you mean like it lags out? I want to make sure I'm answering I'm understanding your question. What happens a lot of times is when you're doing color grading, you're asking the software to do a lot of things. It's taking entire clips and asking it to change all of the light, the colors, the intensities and all the color values. And what happens is it's making your system work harder. So a faster system doesn't really get affected. A slower system, if you're closer to the minimum specs, is going to wrestle with those color grading options. What you want to do is after you color grade anything, make sure you render those files if you're using Filmora, because rendering will allow it to speed back up. Also use proxy files. You guys know, do all of you know how to use, if you're using Filmora, and this is true in other software too. Do you guys know how to turn on the proxy files in Filmora? Give me a yes in the chat if you know how to turn on proxy files, and give me a no if you don't. I'd like to get an idea of who's using proxy files and who isn't. Let's see. Yeah, Heidi, merch. I'll see you tonight for dinner in Toronto, Heidi, in a dream. I love your setup. Thanks. Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's something that I keep building this out and trying to do more with it. It's getting close to where I want it. So I'm pretty happy about where it's heading. So no, yes. We got a little back and forth. Some people don't know how to do that. Some people do. Some people don't. Let me show you. This is a good one for anyone who has questions like, oh, it's, Filmora, it slows down when I get, a lot of things going, a lot of tracks going. Let me share a screen. I'll show you quickly how to do this. Right here, right over here, and let's bring that up. Okay, so in Filmora, let me do full screen here. In Filmora, in the upper left under your file, under the File tab, if you're on PC, you want to scroll down to Preferences. Click on Preferences. It opens up this tab. And this is the place when you click on Performance, this is where you can enable like the GPU acceleration and make sure it's selected the proper graphics card. If this up here is gray for you, that means that your graphics card doesn't meet the requirements for GPU acceleration, so it doesn't have that option. But if you scroll down, at the very bottom here, it says Proxy, okay? And if you click this, automatically create proxies when media resolution is higher than, and then you can set it. Mine's set for 4K UHD. But if you go to the lowest setting, 1280 by 720, that's just 720p, which is the lowest high def aspect ratio resolution. So if you set it for that and hit OK, what it'll do is every time you bring files in and you start working with your like a 1080p or a 4K, turn that on, it'll automatically make sort of lower resolution copies of them, and it'll work in your project with those lower resolution files so that Filmora, and it works, and other softwares do it too with proxy files. Adobe does it. Most big editing softwares have a proxy file feature. It makes lower resolution versions of those files that you're working with, that you're cutting and splitting and doing all the color grading to. And then when you export, it says, okay, we're going to switch back to the high resolution files that you brought in originally. So it doesn't deteriorate the export. Your final quality is still in the full resolution that you were using, but it sort of like makes these easier to work with copies, and they call those proxy files. And it's a lot of people know about the render feature, but don't always know that you can make proxy files. So if your Filmora project is kind of getting janky and you're color grading and it's slowing down, what you want to do is change the preferences to use proxy files for anything over the lowest value, 1280 by 720, and then save your project and restart it. You usually have to restart the project to get that setting to kick in whenever you change the settings. And you'll notice that it actually works faster. Your footage might look a little bit grainier in your preview window, not quite as crisp, but don't worry, when you export, it'll all be fine. Let's see. Jessen, I know your son. My son? Do you know Jonas? That's possible. He's out there. He's out in the internet world. Does your son do any gaming? Yeah, he's mostly Fortnite, but he does some other stuff too. He does some first-person shooter games. One of the other questions was, can you do like some gaming tutorials? Show us how to edit some gaming footage. And my son has been collecting some clips for me, so I'm going to be doing one of those in the future and just showing how to do some kind of gaming montage stuff, because my gaming is terrible. You don't want to see me game. Let's get someone who knows how to do it. Fortunately, I have a son that does. Let me see. I'm just kind of rifling through the chat here. Daniel, how do you remove the watermarks on every video editing software? You pay for the license. That's how you do it. That's what it's all about. The reason those watermarks are there, like in Filmora, it's a free trial version, so you can test it out, but it puts a watermark on export. All the function works, but it puts a watermark on export. And if you like it and it's something you want to use, then you pay the license fee and it removes the watermark. Let's see. Big capital letters. Please answer me how to get auto subtitles in Filmora. Stay home, stay home, stay home, stay home. I don't even know what that means. How to get auto subtitles in Filmora. So Filmora doesn't create automatically subtitles. YouTube does, though. If you upload your video to YouTube, it will auto-generate subtitles. And if you go into the, I might be able to find this. Hold on a second. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can pull up the screen. I can show you where it is on a video. If you're in YouTube, hold on one sec. I just got to get into the back end of my YouTube channel here for a minute, and I can show you where it is. YouTube channel. Let's go into the manage videos. 1 second. I'm getting there. Okay, let me do this. Let me share the screen. Let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, so this is I went into the videos list. I'm picking my latest video, and if you go in here, see on the right here it says subtitles. If you click on that, these are all generated automatically by YouTube, and they just go. That's YouTube listening to what's being said in your video. Now, I always recommend that you go in and modify these a bit and make sure that the words are spelled right, because sometimes it gets clunky. But that's your subtitles that YouTube's making for you. Now you can, once you're all done here, you can actually, let me see the 3 dots right here. You can download these subtitles. If you click on, it's the 3 dots right next to edit as text. You can click download. It'll download the entire file as, I think it's an SRV file. And then you'll have all of these captions. A lot of times people think, you know, I've had people yell at me and go, why do you put closed captions over your videos? They're covering, I can't read what's being said. And that's actually YouTube doing that. If you look down here, there's a closed caption button. And if you click that, it turns them on and off. People yell at me, why did you put it there? I can't see what you're doing in the timeline. So that's the easiest way to get captions, is let YouTube make them for you. There are companies like rev.com that'll do it, and that'll make them for you. They charge like $1.50 a minute. They do a pretty good job. The other thing you want to think about, though, is that in Filmora, it doesn't automatically add the captions in. So I believe Wondershare has another product called, it'll come to me, but they have another product that's a side product that allows you to embed. If you, let's say you downloaded that closed caption file, the SRV file, you'd be able to embed it into a video. Though I personally don't like doing that, because I like the ability to turn them on and off. And if you put them in permanently, they're in there permanently. Just kind of looking around here real quickly. Hi, Daniel from Valencia in Spain. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Let me see. Doug Hewson, good to see you, my friend. Let me see. How do you make yourself shoot lasers like Superman? Can you make a green screen without green screen? Okay, that's two different questions. Can you make a green screen without green screen it doesn't make any sense, to be honest. I think what you're asking is like, can you remove the background without having filmed in front of a green screen, right? Can you do that? Filmora just recently added a paid feature that allows you to do, let me see if I can find a piece of footage and do this. Let me do maybe a sample video might work with a person in it. It doesn't work great, but that's about the only way. That's called rotoscoping, when you trace out a person and remove the background. Of course, everybody's always asking me, like, what button do I push to remove the background in a video? Effectively, there are some softwares that do that, but Filmora isn't one of them. Let me just share this quickly. Filmora now has a feature where if you have a person, if you double click here, I think it's under the effects tab. If you go to the effects tab, and I believe it's the AI portrait. Yeah, AI portrait. It's called human segmentation in the upper left. But you have to pay. This is a paid option. And if you bring that down onto your track, it'll see you got to pay to buy it. You can try it to see if it works, but then you have to pay to export. So if you put that in, see what it did? It pulled out the background of this dude. And if I play this clip, the background's removed. It's a little janky. It works better in some pieces than others. So this is a brand new feature. And again, it's a few bucks extra. I don't know what the actual charge is. And it's under the video effects tab. So if you double left click on your footage down in your timeline, in the upper left, scroll all the way down to the video effects tab, which shows you every effect you've added. And this is the human segmentation. There it is turned off. There it is turned on. And now the background is removed and you just see the guy. Kind of a cool feature. I thought that was kind of a cool feature. And the other part of your question was, can you shoot lasers from your eye? Yeah, I did a video on that. It's like heat. I think it was called Heat Vision. Check that one out. It's on my channel. Let's see. Questions. Why is my video low quality in Filmora? There's three reasons your video would be low quality. One is that you filmed in low quality. Two is that the settings for your project are set for low quality. And three, you export in low quality. So make sure I did a whole video on export settings for Filmora. Check that out. It shows how to make sure that your quality of your footage is good. You match it in your settings, which is up under the file menu, and then your export settings. You always want to make sure those are high. If any one of those is low, it can deteriorate your footage. Let's see, just checking things out. Mr. Paul Peck in the house, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Peck. Good to see you. Let me see. Jonas Batal, that's what I'm thinking. Is Jonas in here? Is he in here somewhere? Maybe I missed him. He might be floating around. I'm just trying to click through some of these questions. I scroll back and forth, so if you ask a question, I'll try to find some of these. How to do with the morph effect in Filmora, like a clip is playing and then another clip is dissolving inside of it. A morph is really like a transition, like I would morph into like a different person. But I think what you're saying, another clip is dissolving inside of it. I think that from what you're saying, I think that's just dissolve you're talking about, Moonlight Gaming. I could be wrong here. Let me just quickly show you something. If you take two pieces of footage, let me get rid of this one. I'm going to do two sample pieces of footage here. So let's take, whatever, this guy riding again, and let's do whatever else. Maybe a countdown. All right. Now, when you have two different pieces of footage like this, right, and here's another one, and you want one to sort of dissolve into the other, that's exactly what you want to do. Up in the upper left, click on the Transitions tab, and make sure you select Downloads. That'll give you everything that's downloaded into your Filmora software, and then use the search bar. And because it's hard for me to remember where everything is. And there's dissolve. And if you put dissolve between two pieces, it'll actually do that dissolve. So what'll happen here is that'll dissolve that into it like that. The other way that you could do it, another way to do it is to put a dissolve on the footage, put the footage above in another track, and it does a similar thing. But if you wanted, let me make this one longer here for this guy so I can have a little more. I'm just going to copy the same thing and have it repeat a few times. What you can do here is, if you get to the point where it's like, yeah, I like the dissolve, Daniel, that was kind of cool. This is not full screen. Let me go crop to fit. Okay. So there, that's kind of dissolving and that thing's happening, but then it totally takes over. One other thing you can do is double left click on the top track, and in the upper left under compositing, you can dial back the compositing, and that's basically like how see-through, how transparent it is, right? And that way you could actually have it fade in, but not completely take over the scene, right? So here it is. It only gets that transparent and stays there. So that's, I don't know if that's what you would consider a morph, Moonlight Gaming, but that's one way that you could at least do, like a dissolve and have something playing in the background. And you can always resize those elements. You click on them in your timeline. So in your timeline, if I double left click on the upper thing, let me lock the bottom track, and I'll double left click on that countdown. And in the upper right, you see how it has that dotted line around it. Then you can shrink it and go, well, I just want it happening. Maybe it was just up in the corner you wanted it or something, right? You could put it up in the corner there and then have that sort of, fade in the upper left and sort of sit up on top lightly, so you can still kind of see through it. So it just would depend on your usage and how you're trying to have things work together. Quick question here. Daniel, can you make an animated thumbnails that are animated for my gaming video with Filmora? Animated thumbnails? I'm trying to figure out where that application would be. You can do GIFs. So a thumbnail is an image, right? It's a standard image. A GIF or a GIF, depending on which camp you're in, is actually an image file that has a bunch of images. And even though it's considered an image file, it plays like a video. That's why you've seen them on Twitter, Facebook, or, any place you can put a GIF. And you can make a GIF in Filmora. So if you have a piece of video footage or some images that are moving, all you need to do is, let me go here. When you let's say this thing I just made, right? The problem is it can't be very long. GIFs have to be, they can't have a huge file sizes. So a lot of times you end up having to cut things down or decrease the resolution of them. When you go to export, what you want to do is scroll down, start with local, scroll down and hit GIF. And this will allow you to export your project. It has to be short as a GIF. And that is basically an animated image or thumbnail. So you can do it that way. That's an easy way to do it. Let me see. I'm trying to get some questions in here. I'm jumping all around. How to make the video smaller in height to make it more cinematic. Just brief it. Are you telling me to be concise? Keep it short, Daniel. Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people think that to make something look cinematic, you put black bars on top and bottom. That's not what you're doing. What you actually want to do is change the aspect ratio. So let me try it this way. Let me pull this up and let me see if I can show you with the stuff I already have in the timeline. So let's say you wanted this to look cinematic. Let me lose that top thing. Here's this dude, right? Let me get rid of the extras though. I just want to do one. Here's this dude. The first thing you want to do is change the aspect ratio of your project. Let me get rid of this taskbar under here. That drives me crazy when that thing's sitting here. There we go. Go up and then go big. There we are. So here's the project, right? Let's make it fill the timeline. Up in the upper left, scroll down to project settings, and I've got this set for standard 16:9 widescreen. What you'd want to do is go to a more cinematic one, which is either, you could do 21:9, that's cinematic, or you can do 2:1. But let's start with cinematic, which is 2560 by 1080. Okay, so now it's 2560 by 1080. So it's a wider screen, right? It's a wider screen now, but now there's black bars on the left and right. So what I'd have to do is right-click on this piece of footage, if my right-clicker will work, and then do crop to fit. Now it's crop to fit. So now it's filling the entire cinematic 21:9. Okay. Now, when I export this, it keeps validating my resources. Let me put this right onto my desktop and I'll show you really quickly what happens. So I select this folder. I'm just going to do what do we call this? Cinematic. You want to get the cinematic black bars, cinematic black bars. So you just figure out where you're going to export it to, export it quickly. And then what you want to do is bring that back in and you'll see the difference, or anywhere it plays, you'll see the difference. If I import that from desktop cinematic bars, let me get rid of the one in my timeline and let me change the project back to 16:9. So that's the standard 16:9 that you're used to seeing widescreen television. You're watching from your phone. And when we bring this in, we're going to say, yeah, stay at this. Oop, no, it matched the project settings. Hold on. I didn't want to do that. Hold on. I don't change the project settings. Daniel will figure this out eventually. Bring this down. No, don't do that. Now, if you see in the upper right here, see how it's got black bars top and bottom? Because this is a widescreen 21:9 piece of footage that I created, and I'm looking at it inside of a 16:9 typical widescreen application like a television. So by default, it adds those black bars. So that's how you physically do it. The idea of creating a cinematic look is literally you take your footage and make sure that you export it in the right aspect ratio, and then it'll be cinematic. Does that make sense? It's how to remove the background. I just covered that. Scroll back on the replay. I showed how to do it. A low export, how to do it quickly. A low export? Do you mean how to do, like, I'm trying to figure out what that means. Do you mean like how to, export is export. So if you're exporting something in Filmora, use your export settings here. Click on the settings, and then you can decide what the resolution is, what the frame rate is, what the bit rate is a big part of it. The higher the bit rate is and the higher the resolution is, the longer it's going to take to export. So if you want to do something lower, then maybe drop it down to like 1280 by 720 and then keep the bit rate. I don't like going much less than 15,000 kbps or it gets ugly. And that's what controls the quality. That could make it go quicker. You're sacrificing a little quality to go faster. Or, well, hold on, I got a quick super chat here from Fish Daddy Charters. Your videos have inspired me to keep trying to learn editing. Thanks, brother. Hey, man, my voice cracked like Bobby Brady there. Hey, time to change. I appreciate the super chat, and I'm glad that these have been helpful. I've been trying to mix two things together, not only doing videos on the channel, but trying to do a lot more live streaming where we can interact, because I think we just cover a lot more ground sometimes. I know they're not as fun as like making a video and watching them, but that's one of the things that I really like to talk about is, answering questions on getting things going and helping people get on their journey to becoming better video editors. So I appreciate the super chat, and I'm glad these have inspired you. And I should take this time to point out, if you haven't seen my latest video, please go check it out. I'm actually giving away, my friends at Sweetwater are giving away this whole mic setup here. It's basically this mic. It's a slightly different arm, but it's a high-end arm that's designed for this Shure SM7B, a cloud lifter to go with it, cabling, everything you need to plug this kind of mic into your digital audio interface. And these things are not cheap. They sound great, these Shure SM7Bs. I love them. And most people can't afford them just because they're pricey. So we're doing a contest on my channel. I put up footage that you can download, and it has no sound to it. And I want you guys to design the soundscape and then send them back to me. Like upload them to your channel as unlisted. All the rules are on the latest video. And the one I think that really does a great job of inspiring something cool, we're gonna send off this whole mic package. I think it's awesome. It's really cool of Sweetwater to step up like that. So yeah, definitely check out the latest video. And we've already gotten some in. I won't give away anything. It's not about how awesome your sound effects are. It's originality, creativity. There's already there's people who are scoring huge bonus points with me because they were actually making their own sound effects to go with my video clip. And then after they put it to the video at the end, they showed me how they were making the sound effects. Huge bonus points for that. So if you're interested in getting one of these mics and practicing on your soundscaping, adding audio to your video, check out my latest video. All right. Someone drop a link to that in the chat somewhere. Doug, Megan, that would be great. It's a lot of fun. Make sure you watch that afterwards. Let's see. Is it advisable to edit when the internet connection on? It depends. Like Filmora, if you are not connected to the internet, it'll remind you that you're not connected to the internet only because you need to be connected to export. If you're talking about Filmora, in general, is it advisable to edit when the internet connection's on? Doesn't matter. On, off. One shouldn't affect the other unless it's like the circumstances like Filmora, because it's license based. It has to make sure that you're licensed and registered, so it connects to your account, and it just checks to make sure that you're activated before you export. But other than that, no, on, off. A lot of times I'll be like on a plane on my laptop and doing some editing, and I'm not connected to the internet. I just have to make sure that I am connected when I'm uploading to YouTube. Let's see. Sir, help us in case of Reaper. I have a whole video on that that I did all about Reaper that you should totally check out. It's over on my channel. Live audio training, and this is what it's called. Let me find it really quickly. Let me share my screen. It's right here at the top. It's called Live Audio Training featuring Reaper Digital Audio Workstation. It's on my channel. That's what the thumbnail looks like at the very top here. And I did an entire live stream showing you how to download it, how to install it, how to find some plugins, all those kind of things. I love Reaper. That's what I use for all. And then I did 2 videos recently. One especially showing how to do cinematic sound, and I actually used Reaper and showed how to do basically soundscaping. So all that stuff is available on my channel for sure. Daniel, I want to burn a bunch of short videos on a DVD to include them include a main menu chapter. What software do you recommend? Oh, there's well, Windows has one built in, but there's let me think of it. Because I even like the basic Windows Media does it. What's the burn? There's one. I haven't done it in a while. I don't mean to sound like I'm Mr. Advanced, but DVDs and CDs are like, for me, they're just, it's like old school. So I haven't had to do it in a long time, but there's a couple that you'll find right online. But you can do it right from the Windows Media Center will allow you to do that if you're a PC user. Let me see. I'm just trying to read through some of these questions. Can you be a movie star because you look handsome? Cast major. Clearly, you must be watching someone else's live stream, or it's time to go see your eye doctor, because if you think this is movie star quality and handsome, then maybe you may do to adjust your YouTube settings. But I appreciate the compliment. Do you know how to do the clip zoning out effect in Filmora? I don't know what clip zoning out effect is. It's probably a gaming thing or something that someone's doing. But if those kind of questions, if you ever have something like that, drop a link in one of the comments sections. I dig them out, and if it's something that I think is cool, I'll try to cover it. In post-production, how do you get rid of rope for jump scenes? Really hard if you're talking about Filmora, it's hard to just, I know what you're saying, like if you had a rope and something covering it, you'd have to mask out. First, you have to do the way to do that, if you were trying to do it in like Filmora, is you'd have to shoot the scene twice. So if it's a standard camera, you shoot the scene with nothing happening in it, and then you shoot the scene again with the action. And then you go in and you mask out the rope using Windows mask feature, and you just lay the track with nobody in it underneath, and every time you mask out, it'll show the track underneath. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that well. But that's what you basically have to do. 2 shots, one with the action in it, one with nobody in it, so that all the things, because once you mask out that rope, if you want to eliminate it, you want all the things that are in the shot to appear. There's a way you can do staggered layers to do it, but it's really complicated. Masking out things like ropes and stuff and making them disappear is a fairly advanced edit, but they do it a lot in, you'll see it do it like in a lot of the, like, you know, action movies and stuff. It's a trickier thing that it comes down to masking. So learning the masking features is the trick to really get ahead of eliminating certain things. I've got a few different videos on my channel talking about masking. Let me just see if I can find some other questions. Hey, Daniel, when I slow motion a video, it starts lagging. Even I have a gaming PC. Why this happens? Just because you have a gaming PC doesn't necessarily mean that that you've got a good video editing computer. And I don't mean that as an insult. Remember that a gaming PC needs to do like one thing very quickly. It plays a game, and it's, my friend Danielle used to made a great analogy. She said, a gaming PC is like a race car. It has to go back and forth very fast, doing one thing. A video editing PC, gaming PCs don't always make good video editing PCs because video editing computers or systems don't need to do one thing really fast. They need to do many things efficiently. So a video editing system is more like a fleet of trucks that don't have to go really fast, but one truck has to do this one thing and come back. This one has to go out and do this one, and that comes back. And all of these have to happen at the same time. It doesn't have to be the fastest thing in the world, but a lot of times gaming PCs are built to do one thing, like very high-end processors, maybe, you know, or maybe decent but it's all about cores and threads when you're trying to figure out how to build a good editing PC. So the slow-mo stuff that you're seeing is because you're overworking your system if it starts lagging out. Anytime you're experiencing lag, it means your system is not optimized for the software you're using. So like I said earlier, use proxy files, make sure you render often, make sure you're not asking too much of the system. Once it starts lagging out, that means your computer's not catching up. And if you open up, if you're on a PC, use your task manager, and it'll actually show you where the drawdowns are. It'll show you like, oh, I'm working my graphics card pretty hard, I'm working my processor pretty hard, things like that. Let me see. Can you give giveaway? Good. Can you give giveaway? Help. I need an interpreter. Oh, I keep pulling up the same people. This one up here. Let me find this. How can, Savage Trump. How can I get rid of an annoying watermark for free? Come on, people. Anyone want to answer that question for him? You can't. You buy a license. Is it possible to export a part of the timeline in Filmora 10? That's a great question. A lot of people have asked me, like, Daniel, if I have a project open and I just want to do, you know, like say there's just this one portion from, let's say this is not a good example, but say I just wanted from this second section from here to here. Unfortunately, Filmora currently doesn't allow you to go, let me highlight that section of the timeline and just export that. A lot of the audio things I use, like Reaper, does. This doesn't. There's no time setting for just this portion of your timeline in Filmora currently. The way you'd have to do it, and I do this a lot, is like, say this is my project. I'll actually just get rid of the other stuff. I'll delete it out, and then I'll save the project under a different name so that I've got, you know, if I have a big project and like, well, I don't want to delete everything and have to screw it all up. I'll just delete those things and save the project, or save it first under a different name and then delete the stuff. So it's actually a different project, and then just cut out the other parts I don't want. And start from there. There is the ability to turn off tracks. You can do that if you're in Filmora and you have multiple things going on. What you can do is on the left over here, let me go full screen so you can see this eyeball. If you turn those tracks off, it eliminates them from the export. And can you see that? See the red line across the top telling me the length of the project that I need to render? If I turn off this upper track, see how the render line only goes to here? It considers any track that is turned off not part of the project. So now anything you turn off, this would only export from here to the last thing that's turned on right there, and then it would end the export. So there is that sort of way to do eliminating certain things without having to delete them. How to make a YT short on a PC? Really super simple. You can do that in on a PC, right? So not from the mobile app. You want to do not using the YouTube Shorts feature. In Filmora, if you're using Filmora, what you want to do, let me go full screen, go up again to your project settings under the file. and you want to switch to, see right here, this is 16 by 9. Shorts need to be in 9 by 16, what they call portrait mode, right? Portrait mode, as you guys know, is think of your phone, right? So here's 16 by 9. And here's 9 by 16. This is 9 by 16 this way. So what you want to do in Filmora, if you're using Filmora, or whatever your video editing software is change the project aspect ratio to 9 by 16 and hit OK. And now if you look in the upper right, see how it's now vertical? The only thing you have to do is make sure your footage fits inside of that, because it'll get cropped funny. If you look at here, see how that gets funky? Because it's all cropped weird. So you want to make sure you're filming in 9 by 16 as well too. Make sure that your footage is in 16 by 9, or you'll have to crop the heck out of it. And then when you export, do the exact same thing. Make sure that your settings are 9 by 16, which is 1080 by 1920. That will give you a short. The rules for shorts are they have to be under 60 seconds. They have to be vertical, and YouTube tells you they appreciate if you put hashtag shorts in the description is fine. You can put it in the title, but in the description is fine. And it lets YouTube know that it's a short. Then just upload it. Under 60 seconds, 9 by 16. Those are the two big rules. How much does your merch cost? Different price ranges. You know, they go anywhere from like, some of the mugs are like 15, and some of the shirts are like $18 US, and then hoodies and things go up to, I think they get up to about $30. Not super expensive. I don't put high profit margins on them. Let me just quickly go over to some of these questions. Is there a possibility for a map animation since you uploaded the last video on this topic? The problem, depending on the angle of the line, moves faster or slower. The problem is, depending on the angle of the line, it moves faster and slower. Well, then stretch out your... Yeah, I talked about that before. A lot of people in that video, I've done, and I've covered this on a live stream. If you're doing the map animation, I probably won't do another one because I've covered it on so many live streams. In that video in the description, I talk about how to rotate your footage and change directions. And then the other thing is the longer the clips you put together, the slower the motion is. So if you have two images, one with the line and one without it, and the angle of it is it's moving too fast, stretch the image out. Take both clips and make them longer. Just grab them, stretch them longer, and then put that erase fade, stretch that transition out, and it'll go slower. Because the longer that any transition, in that case with the map animation was the erase slide, the longer the transition goes, the slower it goes, just like a dissolve or anything else. So that's the trick. Make your clips longer and it'll slow it down. Hey, Daniel, I bought the Filmora X before 2 months and I can't get the new features. I don't know why. And when I went to Filmora, did the checkup, it said it was the latest version. How? All right, everybody in the chat room, I get this question 20 times a day. People ask, like they'll go to my video and go, the feature you just showed, I don't have. I have the latest version. I guarantee you don't. If I show you something and you don't have the latest features, the problem is if some of you are going up and you're looking at, oh, I'm going to check for the update, and it says, let's see if there is a new update. Your current version is the latest version. Well, unfortunately, if you're running Filmora 8, it would tell you you have the latest version. If you're running Filmora 9, it would tell you you have the latest version, because those weren't available to update because they changed 9 so much. You couldn't just update from within the software. When they changed 9 to 10x, it was such a dramatic change, you couldn't just change it from within the software. So if you want the latest version, go to filmora.wondershare.com and download directly from the website. All right, it'll download the most recent version available in your region, with the caveat that sometimes they put different versions out faster in certain areas. The reason why your video, another reason your software might say you have the most recent version, but you don't, is that there's newer versions that come out in there. They put them out and they let people download them and test them first to see, are we getting complaints, are there glitches, are there problems? And once they've made sure it's as stable as possible, then they tell the software there's a new version and it'll appear in the updates of the software. But hands down, everybody, if you want the latest version, go to filmora.wondershare.com and just download the software again, okay? Back up your project files too. It's designed not to overwrite them, but I never want to see anyone lose their project files. That will give you the latest version always, okay? Let's see. I'm just reading some comments here. Is an Acer Nitro 5 good for editing, Ryzen 5? Yeah. Okay, well, let me show it this way. That's a Nitro 5 right here. This is one. and this has the 7. It's got the 7 in it, an i7, and it's got the 2060. So it's an updated one, and it barely keeps up with Filmora. It's very close to the minimum system requirements. I can edit on it, but if I run a heavy project, it'll slow down. So Nitro 5, if it's got a Ryzen 5, that's an older CPU, not quite as effective. It depends with which generation. If it's a more recent generation of the 5, it'll do better. That GTX 1650 is just barely enough to do video editing. You're going to have problems with that. I would probably try to get something a little faster. In 16 gigabytes of RAM, I won't even edit video with anything less than 32 gigabytes of RAM, just for that reason, because you want all of that random access memory to do all these functions, right? Like we talked about video editing, the ability to do many things at once, it's really important. So that's not a bad little computer, like a lot of people go, that's a gaming computer. Not really built for video editing. It'll do it, but I would tell you you're going to be really close to, you're going to struggle. You're going to find that anytime you're doing any HD editing, it's like it wrestles. Which PC is good for editing? My specs are, you've got an E5 1620, 32 gigabytes of RAM. The RX 560 is going to hold you back. The 128 gigabyte SSD is going to hold you back. 635 watt power supply. That's an interesting number. Yeah, what's gonna hold you back in there on those specs is the RX 560, which isn't terrible. It's just it's outdated, and the softwares are moving so fast, and the graphics cards are keeping up with them, but graphics are tough to get. You're going to struggle a little bit with that one. The 2 terabyte hard drive. Okay, you got a 2 terabyte HD hard drive, and then the 128 gigabyte SSD like a backup. Yeah, the 2 terabyte hard drive will help you out on that. I like using higher, larger SSDs. SSDs, this is one thing you want to think about, folks, when you're editing. The difference between an hard drive and a solid state drive. Hard drives are the ones that, remember, they were big and bulky. They look like a compact disc player. They actually have a disc in them, a rewritable disc that spins, and the computer rewrites the information constantly onto that disk, and that's why they fail a lot. But they're slow. They're really slow. The solid state drives are really tiny. They're mini, and they're super fast because there's no real moving parts in them. So if you're building if you want to improve the performance of your computer, definitely think about upgrading. On this case, upgrade the size of the SSD. 128 gigabyte is just a little tight. I'd probably push towards 512. And then you can use the hard drive as the backup, like store your finished projects there. But that 128 gigabyte, you want everything. You want the software running off of that SSD. You want the project files you're using at that moment to be running off the solid state drive. 32 gigabytes of RAM, great. Upgrade. I'd look into see if you can upgrade the graphics card on that one. NVIDIA should be coming out with these 3080s and 3060s and 3070s at a good price. We'll wait and see. Everyone's scalping them, and the prices are still through the roof, but hopefully they'll come down soon. Hi, Mr. DB. Just want to say thank you for your Filmora tutorials. Yeah, man, you're very welcome. My pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Let's see. If you ask someone to guess about Daniel's YouTube content, no one could ever guess Daniel makes video about editing tutorials. Based on what? Like my set and the way I look? Yeah, I know. I look a little different. That would be true. Hey, Blaine. How you doing, pal? Hey, Daniel. Thanks for being super and chatting with us about growing your channels and videos through your knowledge. Hope all is well. Everything's great, Blaine. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope everything's good with you too, pal. Blaine is a guy who's in my memberships group, and he's just blowing up on YouTube. He's just crushing it. I love my memberships group. Everybody in there has just been kicking the heck out of YouTube lately. All kinds. Everybody in there, it's like I blink and everybody hits 10,000 subscribers. They're doing so well. Let me see. Daniel taught me everything I know and have about 7,000 hours of watch time. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. Have you been able to monetize yet, Farmer X? So yeah, because you got 7,000 hours of watch time. You only need 4 to monetize, and you need 1,000 subscribers. Interested to see if you've been able to monetize yet, because that's a great accomplishment. YouTube's hard. You ever notice that, how hard YouTube is? Let me just click a few things here. YouTube definitely it takes time, and building that up it takes patience and consistency. Is AI portrait good or great? Well, it just worked. I just used it a second ago and it was pretty good on that, right? That was the background removal thing. It seemed to work pretty well here, Internet Tricks. For this, it depends on the footage. Like, see this footage right here? Let me change the project here. I got everything up under 9 by 16. Let me change it back to 16 by 9. Okay. So here is that dude riding, right? And I tried the effects AI portrait. I brought that down onto this one before. I'm just going to try it. And it seemed to take the background out pretty good, right? It seemed to work. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Digging Canuck. I don't know. I think weren't you already in? I don't know if you're rejoining or you're just becoming a member. In either case, make sure you go to the memberships tab on my YouTube channel, and you'll see all the stuff that's available to you, all the content that you can get access to, as well as the Facebook group to join. Make sure that if you haven't joined the Facebook group, that you do, because the Facebook group that we have for members only is fantastic. So welcome to the battalion, or re-welcome. Which editor do you use more? I think on a daily basis, I tend to use a mix between mostly Filmora 10. I use DaVinci. I use Movavi for some stuff. It depends how quickly I want to get things done. The thing you guys see me always use Filmora a lot because it's smooth. It runs smooth. It's fast. I can hustle with Filmora. So a lot of the stuff I do daily, where it's I'm editing for YouTube and stuff, Filmora is perfect for that. It works pretty smoothly. Let's see. Do you have any After Effects skills? I don't. I haven't spent any time with Adobe After Effects, though it's a pretty impressive product. It's just not the kind of stuff I do. I don't do a ton of high-end like VFX, special effects stuff. So it's not really something I do a lot. I'll have to find somebody who does. I know Leela from YouTube does Adobe Premiere Pro, but I don't think she uses After Effects. So I'll have to find somebody who does, so I'll be able to reach out and be like, hey, you got to hook us up. Come on the show. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Eustace. Hi, Daniel. I used to use Windows for video editing, but now I use Mac. I bought Filmora for Windows, and it doesn't work on Mac. When I contacted Filmora, they're asking for $55. What should I do? Same thing I had to do. Unfortunately, Filmora considers the license for Windows a separate license than Mac. So I actually have a Mac computer. It's tucked. It's way over there on top of my other PCs. I've got an M1, and I had to go buy the Mac license for it. It's just what it is. That's just how they do it. They consider it a different product because it's built on a completely different operating system. So it's built. It looks similar, but because it's built differently. They have to charge for a different license. Unfortunately, you have to pay for the license if you want it on Mac as well. Hi, Daniel. I love using Filmora, but I use it in a very first of all. Ty said what Ty said. Vintage celebrity scandals. Thank you for the super chat. Ty? I'm going to go with Ty. Tell me if that's wrong. I love using Filmora, but I use it in a very basic way. How can I copy and paste an audio segment? I want to do this for background music. It's a great question. Let me show you how, Ty. Ty. T-I. Let me pull this up for you. Again, thank you for the super chat, too. I really appreciate that. Super chat questions get answered quickly. Let's get an audio clip, all right? So let me just grab something. Let's bring this down. That's just some audio clip, which I never used Filmora's music because they have licensing issues. If this is in your timeline and you want to copy and paste it and make it happen again, what you want to do is select the track. If you look on the left, just click anywhere in the gray area. See how the track turns black? Can you see that? That means that track is now selected. Okay, if you click a different one, it'll turn black. The one above, it changes the color. The reason that looks gray is I had the visibility turned off, but that selects your track. So first start by selecting the track and then right click on that piece of audio. Scroll up, choose copy, and then just move your playhead, put it at the end, and then you can go right click again and choose paste. And it'll just paste that audio section there. You can also do it from your keyboard if you hit Control and the letter V. So if you do Control V, it'll add it again. And if you hold Control and just keep hitting V, it'll just keep adding it. And now you can have a whole bunch because the playhead will automatically jump to the end. Can you see that? Let me shrink it down. Let me see if I can do this. So the playhead, if you've got it right at the end and you hit Control V, it'll paste it again. And now you can do, let me get, keyboard shortcuts. Now I've got that song playing over and over and over and over and over and over. So that's a really simple way to copy and paste. Sometimes another thing you want to think about, T. Sometimes what I'll do is let me see if I can make this make sense. Is if I have a song that's playing and I can, you can use the beat detection. Have you used beat detection before? It'll put red markers right into your audio track. Let me see if I can do it with one of these. Let me delete this track. So that's one way to copy and paste. But let me show you one other thing. Can I beat detect? Yes, okay. So one of these songs, let's say this one I just done, up in the upper left, let me go full screen so you can see. In the upper left, because a lot of times you don't want the song to stop, you want it to feel like it's still playing, right? Not pause and then start again. In the upper right, right click on whatever piece of music you may have, an audio clip, whatever you have. If it's music, and then hit beat detection, and there's a little clock that was happening up there for a second that was kind of hard to see. That'll put beat detection onto your music. Now when you bring that down in your timeline, let me add another audio track here. Now when you bring that down in your timeline, see all those little red dots it has? Let me stretch those out. That's telling you where the beat is. Now what you can do is, let me shrink this down. Let me get rid of all of these. Now what happens is in your timeline, you can go, oh, well, I want to right click, copy. Let's select the audio track above. Let's add another audio track, put the playhead somewhere else, and let's paste that in. And now if you find an overlap, you can go, oh, I want it to feel like it's still moving. Line up those beats. And now that's a good way to make the song line up in beats so that way it doesn't pause and then start again. You can actually make it like find the beginning of a verse and use the beat detection to line up the beats and go, perfect, I'll line them up and I know it's right on beat and it sounds like the song continues playing. So you make like a 40-minute version of a song just by looping it. So that's another trick you can do. Multiple tracks, line up the beat detection, and then just find the right spot, right? Like, hey, the chorus ends here. There's the beat. On this one, the chorus starts here. And then once you get two that line up, you can just kind of repeat them right down the audio track. Beer money, bro. You're gonna need a few. Thanks for the knowledge. Smoking Ivory's with the $20 super chat, $19.99. Marked down just for you, Daniel. Thank you, man. I will absolutely buy beers with that, and I appreciate the super chat and you being a part of the live streams and in general being part of the community. Means a lot, man. Really appreciate it. Let me see. What do we got going on? Sorry I'm late. Sitting in the ER with your wife. Stroke. Holy cow, man. I hope she's okay. All good vibes your way, man. I hope everything's all right. I hate hearing that. Get off the internet. Take care of your wife. You're right. Ty. Sounds like Ty. Thank you so much. Thank you for the extra tip on the beat detection. Love this. Hey, all right, Ty, I got it. Perfect. Thank you for the extra super chat. It really means a lot. Yeah, Ty, I'm going to be doing these usually every Sunday. Questions like that, it's so hard to answer in a video because it's very specific. So I try to do these every Sunday morning is usually what I shoot for so that we can do just this, come in and ask those kind of questions. If there's like one little thing that's hanging you up, it's really easy for me to get in and just go, here, let me show you how to do that. And don't be afraid to ask questions like that in the comments section of any of my videos, whether it's related to the video or not. I do try to get around to them. It just sometimes takes me a while. There's a lot of comments to answer. Let me see. What do we got going on? Over here, we've got Tech with Things. Which graphics card is good in AMD for editing? I just picked up the Ryzen 6800 XT. It was pricey. I mean, it cost me, prices are still, it's supposed to be under $1,000. I think I paid, it's supposed to be like $800, I think. It cost me closer to $1,000 because everything was jacked up in price. I like that one. It's been working really well. It's kind of their newest hot graphics card. That's the one I think is good. I honestly think, if you want my opinion, hold out for the NVIDIA 3080. I think that's only supposed to sell for around $600 or $700, maybe $699. I'll check the price on that. But that one is a smoker. It's a smoker because I put a 2080 Ti Founders Edition in my son's computer because he's a gamer, and it does great with like Fortnite and stuff. But that was like $1,400 for that graphics card, and the 3080 beats it in specs, and it's supposed to sell for, I think, $699. That's a great graphics card, and it's a card that'll last a while. You won't have to worry about upgrading as the software gets, stronger and has higher requirements. Hold out for one of those. The prices are high right now, but they will come down if you can. Daniel, I don't have much pocket money. I'm a student. I don't know what to do. Please guide me. Yeah, I hear you, pal. I started with very little and had to work my way up. What I would tell you, if you don't have a lot of money, the thing that I've been liking combination-wise lately, DaVinci Resolve is free, and it's packed with features. I mean, it puts Filmora 10 to shame in terms of features, but it requires a better computer to run it. And it's higher learning curve. It has like 7 different windows of editing pages. It's not like Filmora where it's, Filmora is simple because it's 1, 2, 3, right? You got like, okay, what do you got? You got the, the import window, the timeline, and then the preview window in the upper right, and that's it. DaVinci has 7 different windows. It clicks and clicks. It does audio. It does all kinds of stuff. But they have the free version, which has a majority of the features, and it smokes. It's fantastic. The great thing about DaVinci is they've now built it with the latest update. It's built on the M1 architecture, so it'll run on an M1 Mini. And they just did an update recently where it's running like even 3 times faster on the M1s. You can get an M1. The M1, you can get an M1 for under $1,000. I got the one with the 512 memory and 16. I definitely say get 16 gigabytes of RAM. I got a slightly larger memory on it. They sell them up to, I think, 1 terabyte. But that thing, DaVinci Resolve and an M1 Mini, you're good to go. You can edit. You can seriously edit, and you'll probably be around $1,000. That you'd still have to pay for monitor and keyboard and mouse. But if you have any of that stuff already, plug an M1 in, you're good to go. I'm a huge fan of DaVinci plus the M1. Let's see. Oh, you have an M1 and you know how to use DaVinci. So what do buy for Mac in the future? If you have the M1 and you know how to use DaVinci, perfect. Go download the latest version of DaVinci Resolve 17. They just did an update. It's running even faster. And it's built on the M1 architecture. If you use Filmora, I did a live stream on this, and we were comparing running Filmora on the M1. It runs, it uses the Rosetta wrapper, but it's not built on that native architecture. You have to do like what they call a wrapper that allows it to run on the M1. So it needs like an interpreter. But DaVinci is designed to work specifically on the Apple architecture. So absolutely, you got an M1, get the latest version though, because it's running much faster. Still free. Get the latest version. Make sure you download the latest version, and you'll be good to go. It's going to take some time to, if you know how to use it, just get into that groove. That I think is the most powerful combination right now. Best bang for the buck for video editors. Let's say, what am I saying? You want me to say that? Well, not right now. You'll have to stick around. I'll show you how. That's funny. Daniel, you make how to make beat sync videos with Filmora, like bullets, beat sync. I felt very difficult when I tried. Do the thing I was showing. Okay, do the thing I was showing when we were talking about putting the beat detection. So whatever you use for audio, if you're doing music, make sure you right click on it. Do the beat detection. This one I already applied beat detection, but no. Jeez, she's singing away. I don't want you singing. Stop. I'm going to get sued for that now, playing their music. What you want to do is use the beat detection, and then those little beat markers will show up here. And then in your video edit, when you are, like something like a shot, or if you're a gamer, right, and it's like a bullet gets fired and you want to happen to the beat, just line up the action with that red beat detection marker. That's how you do it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. That's the trick to doing things to the beat. Use the beat detection and to make sure the action falls on the beat. What do we got here? Hey, is that Justin? Jay-Z helps, my boy Justin. Dan, you're the man. Thanks for all your help. My pleasure, pal. Great to see you back out there making videos again. He took a little nap. Justin had a full life, and he had to take a break from YouTube, and now he's back and he's cranking back up, which I love. I love when people are out there just trying to crush it on YouTube. Let's see. Daniel, I created the video for your competition with Filmora. I'm 16 years old. Can I apply to challenge under 18? By law, you have to be 18 to enter the challenge. but I'm keeping an open mind. If you enter and you have, as long as, when it comes to the problem with when I do these challenges is like, we're not allowed to collect data, information from people technically under 13, but when a contest and you have to ship things, getting people's addresses, the only thing I ask is make sure you have a parent's permission and have your parent sign up. Okay. So if you want to do it and you're under 18, make sure your parent is the one that signs up. You use their email address and their mailing address so that they have they're the ones. I need a guardian or a parent to do the signing up, someone who's over 18, but you're more than welcome to make the stuff and just have your parents submit it. As long as you have, they're okay and it's all going through them, then I'm cool with it. It's just, that's the way it is. You can't physically, ask anyone under 18 to be, send me your address and we'll ship this out or collect personal information. Technically it's 13 on YouTube, and in contests, it's like tricky under 18, but just enter. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. I have too many young creators out there that I don't want anyone to feel left out. So we'll figure it out. We see. Thanks for all the answers, Dan. You'll have to go now. All right. Phone is going to die. So tip number 1, make sure your phone is always charged, especially when you're shooting video and filming from your phone. Very important. Very important. Is that my boy Mick? Hey Mick, super sticker for $20. Thanks, pal. Good to see you, Tinkerman Mick, crushing it on YouTube as well. Hey, you want to know how to make blow up a channel on YouTube using shorts? Check out Tinkerman Mick's channel. He's been crushing it. I mean, crushing it with shorts. Love it. Thanks for the super chat, pal. Rotor, wow. Help me here. Taschenlampenranger. Taschenlampenranger. Is that German? Rotor Taschenlampenranger. Daniel, do you know is it possible to use 5K footage in Filmora? Because I want to go buy a GoPro 9. I have a GoPro Hero 9. Black. I haven't tried putting the 5K footage in. Let me get a better answer for that. I don't know right now. I've gotten the 4K stuff in. Will it, I don't think you can export in 5K. The question is, will it read 5K? Like if you film in 5K, will it then compress it to 4K, but you could get that extra resolution in filming? I don't know. Let me do some investigation on that. And maybe next live stream, I'll, see if I can get an answer for you. But I have the GoPro Hero 9 Black, and I've been using it with Filmora, and because we were on vacation about a month ago, did a whole bunch of underwater filming, scuba diving, things like that, and it was great. It worked perfect. So I wouldn't let that stop you from using the GoPro Hero, because realistically speaking, like most of the stuff, if you're a YouTube content creator, 4K is pretty crisp. It works really well. 1080 works pretty well on YouTube. So don't let it stop you, but I don't have the exact answer, and I'll try to get that. I'll try to get it for you. Is it safe to use cracked Filmora? No, don't. You know why people don't want to spend the money? And what happens on those cracked ones is they put spyware and stuff in it. So people are like, oh, I got this cracked version. And, 2 weeks later, all my personal data was, on the dark web. And my computer was hacked. It's like, don't buy the license. It's definitely worth paying for the license. Filmora is not that expensive. Which is better, Filmora X or After Effects? If you're doing super high, start here. If you can afford After Effects, you have to pay every month. Every year. It's like $250 a year, every year. If you have a really good computer, because you can run Filmora on a slower computer than After Effects After Effects, you need the best computers out there. You need something that can really run, especially After Effects. If you really want to do very high-end custom VFX type stuff, you're into like science fiction-y kind of really creature creation thing, high-end stuff, After Effects is the way to go. It's a huge learning curve, needs a really strong system to run it because of the way the effects are applied. I wouldn't say better. It's just depends on what your needs are. I get these questions a lot, which is better? And it's like, well, what are you doing? Which car is better? Well, what are you doing with the car? I'm going to pick up bags of concrete. Well, then get a pickup truck. Well, what about if I want to, be a race car driver? Well, then don't get a pickup truck, get a race car. So just make sure you understand what it is that you need the thing to do, and then choose accordingly. Let's see, what do we got? I'm just trying to get through some of the questions. Hey, Daniel, I just made a new channel, PFP. It's way cleaner than the last one. Nice stream, by the way. Cool. Like to hear that. Let me see. I'm trying to read how to trace my fingers on a guitar for a crazy edit in Premiere Pro. Go to, my friend Leela is the one to ask. I have a friend who does nothing but Premiere Pro videos, and she's really tutorials and stuff. She's really great. Let me find her for you really quickly, and I'll show you what her channel looks like. Let me do it this way. I'll share my screen. If you look up Leela from YouTube, type that into a search engine, she always shows up. And there she is. There's Leela. Go to Leela's channel, and she's got a ton of Premiere Pro stuff. She's really, really good. And she's really straightforward in terms of how she explains things. So if you guys want to learn about Premiere Pro, Leela is the person you want to know. And if you want to learn about DaVinci Resolve, my pal Jay Lipman with 2 P's, Jay's your guy. Jay does a lot of DaVinci Resolve stuff, and he's super, super understandable and crisp and easy to follow. So those are the 2 people you want to check out. And they're really responsive too when you leave comments in their comments section. They're both really good at getting back to you and stuff. Let's see. Quick question. Do you have a Mac Mini M1? Yeah, that's what I have, the M1 Mac Mini, 512 gigabytes hard drive, storage drive, SSD, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. I just bought it, maybe 6 months ago. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see. Filmora. So you've tried, so Yellow Rose Drone says it handled 6K okay. I don't think it can export in 6K though, right? I think that's the difference, if I'm not mistaken, Yellow Rose. I think the highest, sometimes people tell me no, I've exported in higher, but let me quickly pull up. I think your export options, and I could be wrong, are limited to, it only goes up to, it does a 4K. Will it go higher on a custom if you set a custom? I think custom is just a different variation underneath. I think 4K is still the highest export setting in Filmora. I could be wrong. I'll double check that. I have, because they've updated like 10 times in the last 8 months. It keeps putting out new versions. So it's really they've been doing a great job at changing it, adding new features into Filmora 10. It's been really great. Can I run Filmora on 4 gigabytes of RAM? Not well, no. You won't be able to do any HD editing, because I think it needs at least 8 even to run all of the features. A lot of times people ask me this question. They'll be saying I tried to use the shake effect and it doesn't work, or I can't find it. Some of the effects in Filmora are actually GPU accelerated effects. So if your graphics card can't keep up, or if you don't have enough RAM or VRAM in your graphics, it won't even run all the features well. I would definitely upgrade from 4 gigabytes. I think I won't even work. 16 is minimum to even run a couple of tracks. I prefer 32. I run 64. Do I need 64? No, I like having the extra headroom. The difference between 16 to 32 is significant. The difference between 32 gigabytes of RAM for Filmora to 64, not as it's incremental. But I like I had it. I could get it, so I did it. That's just so I would say 32 is where you want to aim for, but at least 16. Can Filmora run on your i3 laptop? Probably, but not well. i3 is the minimum CPU requirement for Filmora. I recommend people who are buying something at least get into either Ryzen 7 or i7 10th generation or later, and really get something more powerful, because Filmora is unique where it does use a lot of graphics cards. It uses a lot of graphics card to run certain features like the GPU acceleration, but in general, Filmora leans more on your processor than it does your graphics card. So when you render stuff, that renders it so the graphics card doesn't have to work quite as hard, but your processor is always running all these background features in Filmora, so it's processor heavy, so definitely get a decent processor. If there was one or two, if you said, I can afford a really nice processor and an okay graphics card, or a really nice graphics card but just an okay processor for your system, and you were running Filmora, I would suggest going for the really good graphics card, a really good processor, and get a pretty good graphics card. because you can get by with a pretty good graphics card. But again, that the ability to have a processor, CPU that has many cores and threads and can do many things at once is really what Filmora kind of leans on when it's running. Question here from my friend Justin. I use iMovie. Should I upgrade to Filmora, another program? Should I just stick with iMovie for my talking head vids? Jay-Z, Justin, my thing is this. If it's working for you, then you don't need to change. If you get to the point where you go, man, I keep trying to do this stuff and it's taking me forever, or there's more things that I want to do that iMovie just doesn't do, then it's time to change. But if your videos are doing what you need them to, if you just and you're quick, and if you can move quickly with it and you go, this works perfect, then do that. I like Filmora because it's not particularly expensive. And I think it runs pretty smooth on an average, an okay computer. And it's got a good workflow. So for me, it's about workflow first. How quickly what do you need to get done in your talking head videos, and how quickly can you edit? Because that's the biggest trick, is I don't like getting wrapped up and slowed down when I have a lot of things on my plate. So if iMovie's doing it, run with it. If it's not, step up. If you're an iMovie or an Apple user, like I said, I think DaVinci Resolve and the Mac Mini is the way to go. If you don't have the M1, the next step up I would think about. Filmora is not bad. It runs on both Windows and Mac, but Final Cut Pro is excellent. If you're an Apple user, Mac user, Final Cut Pro is another great obvious step up. If you've used iMovie, Final Cut Pro, because it's by Apple, through app. It's Mac only. It's designed to really work well on Macs, and that's another great one that I think Final Cut Pro has more features than Filmora, and it's got a pretty good workflow. It doesn't move slow. So if you were going to step up, maybe take a look at Final Cut Pro and see if it's right for you. Let's see, real quick. Can you please open editing class and YouTube channel growing? And let me try this again. Can you please open editing class and YouTube channel growing class? I kind of have that in my, like a course? I'm thinking about doing that. In the channel memberships, that's what we cover. We do mostly channel growth strategies. That's what the memberships does. We do some video editing stuff, but that's mostly here. The channel growth stuff, how to grow a YouTube channel, that's what my memberships is for. If you're looking to join that, if it's available in your region, there'll be a join button right next to the subscribe button below. Click on that and you can become a channel member. It's like $5 a month. And it has all kinds of stuff in there just for that. Let me quickly check out how to avoid. Yeah, we kind of covered this. If your system's crashing and you have low specs, the real trick is, you can set your proxy files, use rendering, but you really want to upgrade your system. Let me just see. Hey, Daniel, just want to ask, any creative ideas on how to add emotion in a slideshow so that it doesn't look boring and looks creative? I'm just out of ideas. I like keyframing. That's a great question. I like using keyframing. Let me see if I did that in my most recent video. The contest video I was talking about. Let me see if I can find it really quickly here. Right here. The latest video that I did on my channel, there was a section in there. Let's see, right here. This is where we're giving away the mic. Let me pull this up. What I did was I got to a point where I wanted to do basically a slideshow and move things. I was showing the stuff that we were giving away. Let me just find it really quickly. And this is what I did. I keyframed that motion. Let me turn off the captions. So this is like a slideshow. I just keyframed everything to slide in from the right to the left, and I slid it. And that's just keyframing each of those things. And then I move them around on that screen there like that. So that's just keyframing. If you bring in elements I covered this on a recent live stream. If you bring elements into Filmora, you can just keyframe the motion and move them around. So instead of just flipping like one to the next, you can actually keyframe the motion of having an image or video clip start on the screen and then slide off and have another one slide in. That's how I would do it. I think that's the best way to create custom slideshow effects. You can also shrink them. We covered that in last week's live stream, I think. Keyframing. Learn the keyframing feature. That'll save you so much time. Let me see right here. Prakash Prasad says, sir, I'm a biggest fan of yours from India. Shout out to India. I have a question. How can I rotate my video half and then back to its original 16:9 ratio? How can you rotate it? You mean rotate is rotate, right? Okay. keyframe it. So everyone wants to talk, that seems to be the answer of the day is keyframing. So let me show you some keyframing. Let me pull this up really quickly. Let me find my, there we go. If we have let me get rid of all this stuff in my timeline. Let's grab a video clip under these sample videos. Let's, once again, the guys on the bikes. So here's one, right? So if you want to rotate it, what you would do is left click on that piece of footage in your timeline. And in the upper left, to see where it says animation, click on the animation tab and then click on customize. So right now it's 16:9. Okay, so add a keyframe. I just clicked that add button. If you look in the timeline, it put a little green dot, and that's telling Filmora, hey, this footage needs to stay at this position here. And maybe you want it to go even for a while. Maybe you go, I want it to stay like this for a minute. You can add another keyframe. When you move the playhead and add a keyframe, it'll put it wherever the playhead is. So now we've told Filmora, from this dot to this dot, I want this just to be 16:9. But then you said you wanted to rotate it to 9:16. Well, let's move the playhead forward a little bit more, okay? Because right now we've already told it right here, that last keyframe, it has to be 16:9. We double left click on this footage, and in the upper right, you now see that it has a checkered line around it. And that means we can shrink it, move it, rotate it. There's a little handle. See right at the top here? There's the rotate. So let's rotate that to here. Something like that. That's not a really good rotate. We'll get it. There we go. That looks something like 16 by. Let me see but I want it to fit all 16:9 like this, right? So let's make sure it fits in there. A little bit bigger. And then the good thing about Filmora is it kind of tells you the center lines. Can you see those green lines show up? That's up and down. There's another one that's showing me the center. So now I know it's centered. It showed me actually a green line left and right. It's hard to see the green line that's going up and down, but it's telling me there's one right here that's telling me that's centered. And then I want it to stay like that for so let's say this long. I'll add another keyframe, and then maybe back to here. Let's move ahead one more time, and I want it to rotate again back to 16:9. Double left click on in your timeline so the racetrack around it shows up. Rotate it back to here. Stretch it out, and let's make sure it fits. That's locked into the corner. Let's lock it into this corner. That looks about right. Okay, so that's all I did is I did the motion up in the upper right. And if I play this, it will stay, boom, flip up to 9:16, boom, flip back to 16:9. That makes sense? You're just using all that keyframing. And that was like the same question the other person asked about, how do you make slideshows interesting? Move the things around, use keyframing, take what's in your timeline and twist it, flip it, send it off screen, and use the keyframing feature because it takes whatever you're looking at, you can flip it, rotate it, and do those kind of things, okay? That makes sense? I think that makes sense, right? All right, cool. Listen, we've been going for a while here. I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for all the super chats. Thanks, Doug, for all your help. Thanks, Megan, for all your help. And like I said, is there anything I missed, feel free to come back in the replay and ask me questions in the comments section, and I'll try to answer those questions as well. Did we just get another one? Oh, Epic Desk coming in hard right at the end. Good morning, sir. Donating so you can buy a guitar chord play. I say, I know 3 chords, but 2 of them are the same. Well, I thank you, Epic Desk. I appreciate that. So now I've got a super chat to buy beer and a guitar chord book so I can learn more chords. I will. I'll put it to good use. I really appreciate that. Check out the replay if there's anything you missed. Thank you for all the super chats. We'll be doing this every Sunday. So join me next Sunday as well. And I'll try to make sure that I give some announcements out there so you see them coming ahead of time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Happy editing.